Hello and welcome to the Clark Blue Podcast post-match reaction sponsored by NordVPN. I'm Dan Rolinson, joined by Matt Kendrick, almost on time, no technical issues, fingers crossed so far. Matt Kendrick was just doing a bit of interior design before we started. What's that in your background? Means nothing for
The
those that are listening, by the way.
champions.
Oh, that's that
Sorry, mate.
horrible noise again.
No, I've just got a few bits of Villa-related tat. I mean, not the bag. That bag is
Oh,
the best thing.
yeah.
But a bit of. I've got a pendant, and I think it's a clock. It's got a picture of probably something Blackheath market fodder, circa 1992. But I've had to empty my mum and dad's house, so I'm just scattering it around at the moment, just to add a little bit of ambience. But yeah, hello, we won.
Yeah, we're correct, yes. We did win indeed. A convincing win against BSC Young Boys. 100% record in the Champions League phase. I believe we're top of the league for the time being. Get in there. That's what it really means. It was, like I say, pretty convincing. In my head, that's a 5-0 game. We'll get into why in a little bit. But really quite easy at times. A slow start, which we'll go through in a second, but I tweeted almost tongue-in-cheek, I thought this was supposed to be harder than the Conference League, and got a couple of replies like, "Ooh, steady." But ultimately, we had harder games in the Conference League than we did tonight in a more prestigious competition. In the end, it was men against young boys, wasn't it?
Oh, I see what you've done there, mate. Very good.
Thanks,
Very
mate.
good.
Thanks, mate.
Just going to flip my glasses for you there as a mark of respect. Yeah, they say the more success you get, the more entitled you become. But why didn't we do this sooner? It's
good, isn't it?
isn't
This Champions League lark.
It's a doddle. I thought it was, like you said, it was a little bit tense for the first 15, 20 minutes. You thought, well, actually, we're going to have to play our way into this game and try and exert some control. But when we did, like you said, it could have been 5-0. And I think I'd have been disappointed with 2-0, as silly as that sounds. So I'm glad that third one went in. It gives the goal difference a nice early boost. But it's class, isn't it? Isn't it great? I know yesterday when we did the preview, I was saying I'm going to be more excited when we play Bayern and we get to witness it under the lights at Villa Park. But I think this has really whet the appetite now. We've arrived and put out a bit of a statement and a bit of a marker, I think, today.
Yeah, and although it absolutely works in nowhere near the same way, to me it felt a little bit like the Hibs game. Like I always thought we were going to win tonight, and we've won convincingly in the end. Almost like that was the qualifier out the way, and the proper stuff starts with the next fixture, which obviously it doesn't work like that. But having said all that, it was kind of noted down as a bit of a potential banana skin, wasn't it? Young Boys were a pot 3 side, I think, but one that Villa would definitely be looking at and targeting as if we need to win 3 or 4 of these matches. Young Boys is certainly one we'll try and aim for. But, you never know. They've got a lot more European experience than I have. We saw what happened last year at Legia Warsaw in the first Conference League game. The Young Boys Ultras, maybe that rocks the atmosphere a little bit, and that kind of spoils Villa's party almost, if you like. So all that was there kind of waiting to become the narrative. In the first 20 minutes, I did feel like, not that we'd lose, but this isn't as comfortable as I would like. The commentary team were talking a lot about, you can tell that one side's played on the plastic pitch more than the other, and Villa kind of trying to find their way. And that is what it was like, really, to begin with. We're just kind of sounding them out, and working our way into the game. As soon as Tielemans scores, any kind of nerves or that kind of energy sifts away, and we all of a sudden we look our usual selves from there on, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, you're doom mongering before the game. You'd have thought the pitch was made out of banana skins, wouldn't you? You thought it was going to be an evening of ankle breaking and knee twisting.
I mean, that's the biggest win, isn't it? No injuries.
That is the win. It looks like there's been nobody who's suffered, injuries because of the surface. I think all the changes that were made tactically or to save some tired legs for the weekend. So that was the big thing. I think it was important. We spoke, didn't we, about Emery making sure that we didn't trip up at this stage, and if we are to accumulate points, this was as good a chance as any to get those points on the board. And I think that was reflected with the starting lineup. I didn't expect him to go completely as was at the weekend, but I did expect him to go strong. And obviously, he took my advice and put Konza at right back at half time and moved Diego Carlos in. But I think that was a statement of intent. The fact that, yes, he knows that we've got fixtures coming thick and fast. We've got 2 big competitions to compete in, and the other 2 that will hopefully go do well in as well. But when that team sheet came out, that was the sign. Emery treats European competition, whoever the opposition are, treats it with the utmost respect. And I think the decision to go strong and to name that lineup was vindicated by the performance and ultimately a very convincing result.
Yeah, in the preview we did, again, as much as almost for argument's sake of let's actually make this a conversation, I've kind of pitted the team of let's go maybe make changes because of potential injury scares. But ultimately, I did think Villa would go strong, but like you, not kind of full strength, not the same 11 that started against Everton. I thought there'd be maybe 1 or 2 changes, but you've kind of got to take it seriously. I suppose you've got to get those points on the board, sooner rather than later. And we may see it be different in different Champions League games, but I think the international break coming up and the League Cup fixture against Wickham next week means that we've kind of got other opportunities to make changes if we need to. We've got Wolves at the weekend, which I think will go strong again. You'll see changes for Wickham. And then as we head a little bit further down, there's another break coming up anyway. So it felt like it all made sense that Villa would go strong and did do that. And as you say, it pays off. Nobody's got injured because of the pitch. We've beaten it aside very comfortably, which is great because goal difference is also important in this league phase as well. And it could and should, in my opinion, have been more as well. So almost the perfect night, do you think, for our first Champions League game? Could it have gone any better? Apart from obviously being 5-0?
I think so. There's a couple of people in the comments saying that Watkins had an ice pack on his ankle, so a little bit less than perfect. But, if it's an ice pack rather than a protective boot, 2 crutches and 3 stretchers and five ambulances, then we'll take it as a win. But I think it was a really interesting introduction to Champions League football. We're obviously going to face fiercer tests than that in 2 weeks at Villa Park for a start, but didn't look out of place, did we, Dan? It looks like I don't want to get too carried away too soon because hopefully this adventure will roll not just this season but for seasons beyond. But we look like we belong there, and that was given the journey that we've been on to get there. That was the most reassuring thing for me, that we don't look like imposters. We look like this is our stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start with this.
Sponsored by NordVPN, it's the Man of the Match award, and I will accept 2 choices if you cannot narrow it down to 1.
Do you want to pick a man of the match? Things I have to do for this bloody podcast.
It never ceases to amuse me. That I will accept 2 choices. That's very generous of you.
You know why? Because I thought when I made this thing, I thought if I say man of the match, I know for a fact you're going to come on here all smart ass going, well, actually, I could have picked 2 or 3. So I've put that in there because of you. Okay.
Oh well, I'm going to pick 2 actually. So thank you for giving me that courtesy. We gave it him the other day. I thought Tielemans was class as well. They obviously scored the goal, but just knits everything together so neatly. I'm sure at some stage this season we will miss Douglas Luiz, but that man in the middle at the moment has meant that we haven't really missed him because he's just so I don't know, fluid, whatever the word is, in everything that he does. So efficient and takes care of the ball, but also seems to cover a lot of ground. Without really noticing that he's doing it. But I thought Jacob Ramsey was class tonight. Typical me, pick the 2 goal scorers or 2 of the 3. I thought Ramsey was brilliant today, and I thought he gave us a reminder. I think you forget how good he is because he's been out of action for however much of last season. You forget what a brilliant player he is. His athleticism, his close control in tight areas. We'll talk through Tielemans' goal and Ramsey's goal, I'm sure, separately in a short while. But I just thought he was brilliant, and I just thought on this night of all nights, when we're back at the top table of European competition, and we're mourning the loss of the late great Gary Shaw, to have a local lad, one of our own, to score a goal on that stage, I just thought it was a fitting tribute. So I thought those would have been my 2, but there's probably 2 or 3 others who you may wish to mention.
Well, I'll go with 1 other. I'll stick to the remit and actually just pick 1 man of the match, as the title suggests.
No, I picked 2 as the caveat suggests.
Okay, yeah. I think Tielemans is probably the answer, but I'll give a bit of praise towards Morgan Rogers. I thought he was brilliant again. He's really, really evolved as a footballer since joining Aston Villa. I mean, I saw somebody tweet earlier, and I've not been able to fact check it, but he played 1 minute for Middlesbrough against Wigan a year ago. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But obviously was in the Championship at the start of the year. And now in the Champions League, starting games, not quite, I'd say, running the show, but being really effective. Just missing a goal or an assist at the moment to kind of have a bit of something to show for a performance directly. I think you're right what you say about we forget how good Jacob Ramsey is because we've not seen him as much over the last year, but now we're starting to see him get back towards what he can be. It's nice, almost that nice reminder of, oh yeah, he's pretty good, isn't he? I think something we used to say about Ramsey was that he's got the closest thing to Grealish, the way he carries the ball forward. But I think I don't know how to describe it, but visually, I think Morgan Rogers is a better fit for what Grealish was than Ramsey is. Ramsey does carry the ball brilliantly, but I think just like the way I see the game, Rogers looks more like a Grealish than Ramsey does. He looks more graceful, or the way he glides with the ball. I can't put my finger on what it is, but he carries the ball forward in a really nice, kind of aesthetically pleasing way.
Yeah, it's that moment, wasn't there? I think some of the people from the commentary box, was it Ferdinand was he did that little nutmeg, didn't he, Rogers, moving the ball at speed. Listen, I know we hark on about his cradly upbringing, but that plastic pitch would have been, home from him, Power League at Collegiate or goals at Rowley, mate. That's where he'd have honed his art, as all us street footballers. As all us street footballers do. So, no, it was brilliant, and there were some real moments. I mean, I just wish he'd put his foot through it a few more times because he's the most selfless player. He's always looking for the cut back for somebody in a better position than him. I'd back him in some of those positions when he doesn't elect to shoot. But no, he's a class act. I think there were lots of really good performances throughout the team, and I think Villa almost matured into it as the game went on.
Yeah, I thought McGinn was very good as well, as he often is these days. I noted a few things down on my phone, which obviously I don't normally do when I'm at the game, but as it was on TV and you got a bit more time, there's a couple of things I wanted to not forget. Did you watch all of the build-up, or did you just tune in when it started?
Oh, mate, don't start. I'm hoping that my technical issues were just with TNT today rather than on the podcast because, it was lagging. It was lagging. And I had to switch tellies. I had to move into the Cats room. The Cats have commandeered the back room at the moment, so I try and steer clear of it. But we got the telly to move in the Cats room, and then when me and my son were celebrating the goals, the Cats were went scattering in the room. So I feel like I've at least won a territorial war today, anyway.
And you've changed, haven't you? Got a Cats room. What's happened?
I know.
The thing that I noted down that I wanted to remember was Morgan Rogers' dad was interviewed during the build-up by Darren Fletcher. I almost said Steve Fletcher.
Was that his dad?
Yeah.
Because he was lagging.
Howard, was it?
He was lagging on my screen. I know there was some Morgan Rogers love going on, but I didn't realise that was his dad.
Yeah, as his dad, kind of as well. Just had a chat with him and thought, let's do this for the show. Basically, there was a line that was tweeted: "The confidence Unai has given him by playing him in the right position has been fantastic." So clearly favours playing down the middle more, according to his dad, anyway. But there's a lovely little moment of Ali McCoy, who I think is brilliant on commentary. Just like wandered across the frame to like pick up a drink, and it was like very casual, very obviously local to us as well. Morgan Rogers' dad. He's nicked me beer. Like really, that was a terrible accent. I could have just said it in my normal voice.
Was that Scottish you were doing?
Yeah, that was Ali McCoy. Yeah, I got confused in my head. It's just like a really kind of everyman quality of just like a normal thing is happening. Ali McCoy's like, that was a nice moment. Means absolutely nothing. You've got nothing to say because you've not seen it, but I thought I'd bring it up anyway.
No, I did. I saw it, but I saw it it was almost then
sort of like this.
When you draw them little kind of cartoons in a flip book and do an animation like that, it was a bit like that. But thank you for clearing it up for me.
Thanks. There's a comment in the live stream says, that was Scottish or Geordie. That comes from I might be wrong. You're not wrong. That was terrible. Another thing I noted down, just as a nice touch, and a weird, just hit my microphone, a weird case of coincidence of Youri Tielemans being our first Champions League goal scorer wearing the number 8 shirt. Obviously, after the passing of Gary Shaw as number 8 yesterday. And also Jacob Ramsey scoring with 41 the last time we were in Europe, 41 years ago. That's weird, isn't it? I've got nothing for Onana. I could make something up if you want.
It's written in the stars, isn't it? But fair play to you for having your eyes open wide enough and your ears open wide enough to notice these things. You're becoming a consummate broadcaster. You really are.
Well, I think I saw someone else say it, and I thought, you know what, I'll take that for the podcast.
You're becoming a consummate plagiarizer. You really are.
Oh, yeah, okay. What else did I note down? Let's talk about the goals. Talk me through the goals one by one, not the ones that are disallowed. We'll do those separately.
The first goal, I'm going to brand the man Austin McFearless now, because even on the grand stage of Europe, he's prepared to be inventive and creative. And I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was a really, really clever corner. You know, I think there's so many elements to it. Obviously, you've got to create a little bit of a decoy with Luca Dean and John McGinn in the first place. And then I think the players in the box had done their bit to move all the action or all the scrum, if you like, towards the front post. And then Tielemans, lots of people would have just slashed at that first time and sent it scattering into the Swiss sky. But his first touch was class. His second touch just steered it to make sure it was on target. And I thought it was a brilliant goal. And if we're talking about, I don't know, all those signs and moments, if you like, McCoist and Darren Fletcher were rattling through the 82, all the Scottish influence that was in that. Ken McNair, Talon Evans, Des Bremner. Now, obviously, we got McGinn and we got McPhee. So I think a lot of the great Villa teams have had a Scottish influence. So we've got that Scottish influence there. But I thought it was a really clever work goal, and what a way to announce our arrival.
Bit of a Scottish influence with the third kit as well, no? When it was the referee doing these little speech about, let's respect each other, and this is the guy you can speak to, and all that kind of stuff. And McGinn stood there, kind of glanced away for a second, and looked up and saw like the small stadium, the plastic pitch, and McGinn stood there. And I thought, this feels like a Scotland game. Like, had that vibe. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, probably when we started winning by 3 goals, that probably got rid of that notion for you. Just on the kit, what do you make of the old the black sash on the white shorts?
Yeah, that's rubbish, isn't it? The one thing I really liked about the home and the away kit is that a lot of the other Adidas clubs have got that kind of mark on the back of the shorts in the club colour, and we haven't got that on the home and away. So to have it on the third is weird, and it does look a bit strange, doesn't it? I suppose it's navy rather than black, but it's quite dark.
Well, I don't know where my mind was going, but it looked a bit like they were wearing like garters or like suspenders around the back of their shorts. So yeah, I don't need those kind of distractions midway through a Champions League debut, to be honest. But it looked a little bit weird on the eye. Yeah, I think.
Shirt's nice though.
Yeah, I thought the top itself was class, to be honest. Still not sure whether I'll be loosening up the purse strings to buy myself any of them, although I did commit to it being Adidas at the start of the season. But we will see how much money I've got left in my pocket from Bayern Munich, shall we?
Second goal, it's all a bit of a blur to me now. The second goal was a defensive mess, wasn't it? The back pass to the goalkeeper from whoever defender it was just really low level, not what you expect to see in the Champions League. And to be fair to Watkins, very quick off the mark to make something of that, rather than just, if he doesn't even attempt to close that down, that goal doesn't happen, I suppose. Ramsey's got all the time in the world to find the side netted. I don't think he was going to miss with his left foot. And you go 2-0 and you go, okay, this is pretty comfortable now.
Do you know what it reminded me of? The way that Ramsey stepped around the prone body of Ollie Watkins. How old's Wolf now? He's only about 18 months, 2 years.
20 months, yeah.
20 months. So you'll get this in a couple of years' time. It reminded me of a dad going into a young kid's bedroom and trying not to tread on Lego in the dark. So he had to kind of pick his way around with quick footwork around that. So as not to tread on Ollie Watkins, and then stuck it away. It was a gift, wasn't it? But even when you're given a gift, you got to accept it. It would have been a definite pen, wouldn't it? But I think the ref, to his credit, took a step back and let the move unfold. So I thought it was. I thought he did well there Ramsey just to manoeuvre his feet quickly, like kind of treading through a minefield. I
Mm.
think McCoy's saying on the commentary that he didn't care about Watkins. He'd have trod all over him. I thought it was the opposite. I thought, okay, he's not gone down and checked that he's okay, but he's done his best to make sure he doesn't tread on his teammate.
Yeah, he could have clattered him into the goal as well, couldn't he?
Yeah, but no, I thought it was good. And when that second goal went in, you thought, yeah, we've got this in the bag. It's just going to be a case of how many, really.
Yeah. There's a few comments coming through about why could we not have just won our home kit in tonight's game or the away kit even, because obviously neither clash. Peak marketing, isn't it? The third kit's just come out. I said before it came out, we tend to just release it normally before the Carabao Cup game, and you wear it in that. It's like, oh, it's out today, and we wear it tomorrow. And I thought, well, Champions League is obvious, always on us to do it then as well. And a little bit of, I don't know whether you saw it, a little bit of marketing fluff that came with the third kit of like, it's navy because we're returning to European nights, and it's adorned with silver because we've won trophies. So, all right then. So it's absolutely obvious we're going to wear it tonight. It's like woke football, isn't it? Gone wrong. Everyone's in the comments, utter woke nonsense, Sean Dyche, all that kind of meme because we're not wearing a kit clash, not wearing a kit that doesn't clash anyway. But it's football, isn't it now?
It's navy because we're at the Wankdorf Stadium and reminds us of seamen.
Bloody hell! Oh, you really brought this down a level then.
Watershed. It's only half 8. Sorry about that if I've offended some of you prudes out there. I've got to get that stadium name out of my mind. Right, moving on. Embarrass myself now. Come on, move on. Do a segue.
I'll just have a drink. No, I'll get you out of this hole. Third goal, Amadou Onana. We kind of joked after West Ham about, Douglas Luiz, how are we going to replace his goal contributions because he scored 1 in 1. He's since scored 3 in 5. He scored 3 during his time at Everton, which was, 60, 70 odd games. This is something that not many people knew he probably had in his game because he's playing in a different way at Everton. He's playing more defensive. He's playing in a worse team, obviously. But if you'd have said Onana's going to get 3 or 4 all season, you'd have probably said, well, yeah, that's pretty decent. Looking back at his career, he tends to get around that many. Fingers crossed he doesn't score no more for the rest of the season, but you suspect he will. So to be on 3 goals after 5 games already, contributing in a different way than we contributing in a different way than we thought he would, is firstly nice to see. And the goal itself, what a lovely finish. And I haven't got a name for that, like we were trying to pick a name for John Durán's last episode, but a really nice finish. Ali McCoy's loved it.
It was a class finish. I mean, it has been unexpected, especially because I've been reading some of the reviews from Everton fans, and if you believe him, he couldn't even walk in a straight line, let alone be such a composed footballer. But no, I think comes back to that trust Emery with everything, doesn't it, kind of thing. But Emery saw enough to know that he could be that footballer who can not just this imposing figure at set pieces in both boxes, but also be able to play the Unai Emery way, which means looking after that football as if your life depends on it. So I think the goals, I think 2 things have been an unexpected bonus. And again, perhaps he shouldn't be surprised because Emery's gone and got him and thought that he could put him into this system. But I think his ability, listen, we know he can get about the pitch. We know he can be physically dominant. But I think his ability in tight areas to control that ball, look after that ball, and the fact that he has been able to score these goals now, obviously the opening day one against West Ham, we expect him to be that towering, imposing figure from set pieces. But I think today he's just shown another thing in his locker.
Yeah.
And I don't like to introduce Mark Goldbridge into our podcast because I think we try and present a very different type of fan experience. Although I've probably gone to some dark places with my smut and innuendo today, so apologies. But I saw a little clip or a little reel of Mark Goldbridge saying that Villa are reinventing the way that football's played because Morgan Rogers is this swashbuckling throwback of a player who can, run with the ball and take players on and stuff like that. And Goldbridge was waxing lyrical about John Durán's finish the other day. And it is nice, isn't it, when your players feel like they've got the ability and the freedom to take chances from distance. So it was lovely seeing. I don't know what you'd call it. would you call it? I was going to call it an Andre, but his name's not Andre, mate. I don't know what I don't know what you call it. Just a very sweetly struck finish.
Yeah, there's not a Nana specific name for it, but I'd call it maybe like a ping. Like he pinged it. Really nice ping to it. Feels accurate. Let's talk about the goals that weren't goals then. The Ollie Watkins one, first of all. I don't want to come across like let's have loads of sympathy for him because he scored 2 at the weekend. Like he's still a very good player, but kind of every goal counts for his confidence to get him back up to speed. Clearly, if he's still nursing some kind of injury as well with the ice pack, it would have been good for him to have had that goal stand. Why was it disallowed?
Oh, mate.
Is that handball?
What a load of doff.
Stop it.
I've got another bit I was going to add to that, but I can't now. I said to my lad, I said, oh, they're going to have a look at that because it could have struck him on the hand. As soon as I'd seen the first couple of seconds of the replay, he's actually manoeuvred his body really well to make sure it doesn't touch his hand, but has been able to control it with his midriff. I'm not really sure what anybody has seen there, because if you look at that and you've got a functioning set of eyeballs, then you realise that that's not handball. And listen, I'm not saying we'd have gone on to win 5 or 6 at the time, but if we hadn't scored that third goal later in the game, I'd have been really frustrated because I think, given other than the first 15 minutes, at least 3-0 was the scoreline to reflect our dominance. And I did feel we were robbed there, to be honest. I felt it was unfair, and I couldn't, sometimes you think, well, actually, the assistant, the VAR might have seen a little bit of this or a little bit of that. I couldn't quite fathom what they'd seen.
Yeah, you can only assume that it's kind of hit his. This means nothing for those listening, so I'll describe it by visuals. But kind of hit him here, and almost like hit his arm on the way down.
Dan's just showing for the audio, just under his boob area.
Yeah, big area. Just kind of maybe hit his arm on the way down rather than kind of an intentional move, which to me is the old kind of ball to hand. Does he mean anything? Does he gain an advantage from it hitting there? No. And then to see all the replays, again, I don't think it's conclusive either way, whether it's handball or not. Like, I don't think you can actually tell. So at that point, I would, again, obviously it goes Villa's way, so I'm going to say this. I would rather it went the on-pitch decision. He didn't give it at the time, so stick with that because you can't really tell from the replay anyway. So I think it's really, really harsh, and thankfully it doesn't mean anything really. Obviously, maybe we score more goals or whatever, but ultimately nothing really changes because of that. I just feel very harshly done by, and for Watkins as well, not to be too sympathetic towards him, but it would have been good for him to have a Champions League goal on game week 1.
Yeah, and it was a great finish, to be fair, as well, because he blocked his lines a couple of times, hadn't he? There'd been a couple of chances where a heavy touch had ruined his shooting angle, I think, and he managed to scuff one wide, and there's a couple of other bits and pieces. But he smashed it, didn't he, with his right peg on that second attempt. So yeah, it was really, really frustrating. Even in the most elite of elite European competitions, it seems that these controversies still exist. But fortunately, it didn't. Okay, it's robbed us of a goal that hopefully won't become crucial in goal difference when the league table takes shape. But fortunately, it's not affected the outcome of the game in terms of the result.
Yeah. On to the other disallowed goal, the Durán effort, which was, again, McCoy's absolutely loved the finish, even though it didn't count for anything. He was waxing lyrical, I think they say. Durán starts the move by playing a nice ball out, comes back to him, side-footed finish. Somebody earlier on called the Onana one a daisy cutter. I won't quite go that far for that because it was too off the ground for me. Durán's wasn't a daisy cutter because it wasn't hit with enough venom. We're really getting into the weeds of something that doesn't matter. But his side foot, I mean, the replay behind Durán, it's outside the post for ages and curls in. Really, really nice finish. Disallowed for a Nana handball in midfield, which to be fair is handball, but a long time prior. I mean, they've said a lot of stuff about us not being in Europe for 40 odd years. They might as well have gone back to 1982 to find something wrong, to be honest.
I mean, let's talk about the finish first of all. I know it counts for nothing now that it's been chalked off, but swaz, is that the right word? There was so much on it. It reminded me the last time I saw somebody make a ball move like that, they rocked up at 10-pin bowling with their own shoes. It just there's so many, when I'm crap at bowling. I have to stick the things up at the side and have the ramp to go down. God. I do because I'm not a bowler.
That's bleak.
But, you know, when people put that absolute bit of spin on it, I don't know what the technical term is in bowling, but it was such a lovely finish. Like you said, it just whipped so much. Again, it's another cruel one. It was definitely a handball.
Yeah.
So you can't argue that. Like you said, how many kind of stages and passages of play is the game allowed to continue before you go back and intervene on that? So I felt hard done by on that one, just because the quality of the finish was so good, and because Durán had done so much to wind up the Young Boys ultras, you know, by celebrating in front of them. So I felt a little bit hard done by there. I can see why it was disallowed. I just think there's several phases of play where if you're going to let it continue for that, you're almost resetting the game and saying, you know, play on, aren't you, really?
Well, also, what's strange about that, and the goal, we talk about the finish to say, well, it doesn't matter. Durán is booked for celebrating and, you know, winding up the fans in a goal that should never have happened. So surely everything after the goal is cancelled out. So why is this is probably such a minor thing, but surely that yellow card shouldn't count either, because the celebration shouldn't have happened because the goal shouldn't have happened. Do you know what I mean?
I like that, because I had a packet of crisps around that time as well, and that should just be wiped off now. That should just be expunged from my diet. Yeah, I get it, but I don't know. It's frustrating. I think we split in hairs really on what was a wonderful night. But you know, we're here to talk, aren't we? So.
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about? Totally unrelated.
Is there anything else that I noted down? Just trying to think. I mean, listen, I don't know what stage we are in the podcast and whether you want to rattle on for a few more minutes, but I just wanted to pay that tribute to Gary Shaw. Really, I think that I think he's rocked a few of us. Really, you know, I know that he was taken into hospital a week ago. I never in my kind of wildest nightmares expected this to be the outcome, and perhaps that's a little bit naive of me. But you know, I've done my emotional 6 or 7 minute tribute that we put across here and across other channels, so people know what I feel about it. I don't need to go into that in much more depth. Only to say that I can't picture him as a frail man. I can only picture him as this life and soul. You know, not always wanting to be centre of attention, but wanting to be just being there and just being good fun. So I'm glad. It was great seeing those scenes from Switzerland last night with Ian Taylor as the main ringleader, if you like.
He loves it, doesn't he, Tails?
Just cranking up the yeah. I mean, he doesn't mind being centre of attention, bless him, but cranking up the loving really, and the chants and all that. The bit that I saw on while my screen was lagging, I think Young Boys paid a really nice tribute, didn't they? In terms of, you know, passing on their respects. Some of the things I've read from Brian Little and Stan Collymore and Dennis Mortimer has really left a lump in the throat, and there can be no doubt the esteem in which we hold Gary Shaw. So I'm glad that his memory was done justice in the way that we performed tonight, the way that we won the game, that we announced our arrival back in Europe's top competition. And I should imagine Saturday against Wolves is going to be an emotional occasion. Bayern Munich back at Villa Park, for obvious reasons, is going to be an emotional occasion. And yeah, just that one was for Gary Shaw tonight. You know, the ultimate one of our own, the ultimate Holtender in the sky. And yeah, just rest in peace. What a bloke and what a player for our football club. Yeah,
the stuff that I've read since I've been told by people whose opinions I trust, like yourself or my dad or whoever, of how good of a footballer he was, first and foremost. So there hasn't been that much talk about his football ability. There's been a lot about the man that he was, which is obviously a really nice thing in itself, but how brilliant of a footballer he was is also really important to remember as well. Obviously before my time, but seeing some of the clips and stuff in recent days, but all the things that you read about him and hear about him sounds brilliant. Like he sounded like a really, really lovely bloke. And yeah, such a horrible thing, and it will be nice is the wrong word, but you know, to be there for the Bayern Munich game and see the tributes that will inevitably be paid towards him because of that fixture specifically. yeah, just a really horrible, sad time.
And the one thing that I was going to mention on top of that as well, I think just before kickoff as well, there was a message from our future king as well, wasn't there? Wishing Villa best for tonight and paying tribute to Gary Shaw, our future king for the prince of the Kinghurst estate. So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it's choked me up more than I thought. And that doesn't sound. I don't mean that to sound harsh, but just so real and just so alive. So it's just such a sorry tragedy. But I'll I've spoken a lot about that. So let's move on.
Yeah, there's normally your podcast that you do is audio only, but because of the content that it was, and I thought it was so good, we threw it up on YouTube last night as well, and it's done like 10,000 views, which is incredible, and loads of really nice comments towards yourself as well for writing something so nice and reading it. So if you've not had a chance to have a catch up with that yet, it's on the channel on YouTube or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. Matt Kendrick's Villa Voice Notes, my tribute to Gary Shaw. It's certainly worth 7 or 8 minutes of your time. Let's not end on that. Let's end on something football related. Just a general kind of overview of your thoughts and feelings about tonight as a whole. To be back, actually, something I was going to remember. Back in the Champions League is what I was about to say. What do you make of this whole thing about it's our debut in the Champions League? That's like the narrative, like, oh, they're back. Our name is on it. So is it a debut? I know what they mean.
I'm not too precious about it because it's our debut in the sense of the competition wasn't called the Champions League and it's undergone so many changes from what it was 40 odd years ago. But I like the fact that people are getting it wrong because it gives us another reason to remind them, doesn't it? Actually, I think you'll find, and you might
not only have we
find
been in it before, we've also won it. Yeah,
I think you'll find. So it's almost you need to do your homework. Because you'll actually find that not only have we been in European football's premier domestic knockout competition, but we've gone and won the bloody thing. So with Villa fans, any excuse that we can to hark back from about that moment and say, we're not pretenders here. We're not Johnny come latelys. Well, we are, because it's taken us so bloody long to get here. But we've actually got heritage and history in this competition. So like I said, I don't mind an excuse to shove that down people's throats, really.
And we won it when it was proper as well.
Oh yeah, you have to be champions to get in it. So Champions League now, you know,
and anyone goes in it.
Yeah, anyone and the mighty Aston Villa can get in it nowadays. So.
Yeah, I think the wording's interesting. A lot of it's very social media, isn't it? There's a lot of these big accounts kind of saying, "Oh, Villa are back in it or they're in it for the first time since they're making their debut." And like you say, it is and it isn't. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter, but I just thought it was interesting to bring up. I think Laura Woods opened with like, "Oh, it's their Champions League debut," and there's a lot of people like, "Well, like you, well, actually," which yeah, I quite like.
Just one thing: did one of our youth teams play Young Boys?
Yeah,
that amused me on the Twitter thread. People were saying, "Well, actually, if Young Boys are Young Boys, surely we're playing Baby Boys or we're playing." Younger Young Boys, but,
Young Boys under 21s or whatever it is. Yeah, it's the UEFA Youth League, isn't it? You play the same fixtures in your youth team as well. I think they won actually, the Young Boys. So yeah, that's it. I think we're done. A couple of comments coming in about the debut thing. It's like this again. It's a weird, probably social media narrative, really. But they say like, oh, it's the Champions League, or oh yeah, but you were in it when it was the European Cup. But then, Real Madrid have won 15 Champions Leagues, or Liverpool have won 7 Champions Leagues, or whatever it is. So, well, no, they've won 2 Champions Leagues and 5 European Cups. So you allow that difference then, but not when it's like someone's making their debut in it.
Yeah, it's like, Villa have never won the Carabao Cup, but that doesn't mean that they've never won the League Cup. Do you know what I mean? I know that's a sponsor thing. But anyway, were you going to do your big...
No. I was going to save it.
Oh, right, okay.
I almost did it, but we've done 40 minutes. We'll be doing a Q&A later in the week. We'll talk about Young Boys for now, and we'll do that another time. Little tease, isn't it? That only you and I know about. It's not even that good.
Yeah, it'll be a really exciting anticlimax for people anyway when it finally arrives.
Yeah, stay tuned for that. We've had almost, we're down to 700 now, but we had almost 900 people in here at one stage on 8 o'clock on a Tuesday evening. So thank you for joining us. Bugger off to the 200 that left us over the course of the show.
Do you think that was the Navy joke that got rid of them or not? Or
possibly. Who knows?
Probably writing strongly worded letters actually at the moment saying, I do not come here for this kind of smut.
Yeah, we'll find out, won't we, if that's the case. Right. Matt, thanks for joining me as always. Our third podcast in a row. Pleasure having you as always. Thanks to everyone who watched along live on YouTube, or if you're one of the ones catching up, scroll down and leave a comment with your thoughts on how the game unfolded. Or if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can get involved by leaving a comment on Spotify or a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll be back again later in the week for a Q&A. There will be details of that on our social media channels. That'll either be tomorrow or Thursday. Then we'll have a press conference preview on Friday for Wolves and a post-match for Wolves on Saturday. Will that be you and me again for the post-match?
I believe it will, yeah. Yeah, just one quick thing, Dan.
Good.
Just a nice touch with the acorns on the
yes.
on the shirts tonight. I don't know what. I don't think... was it a magnanimous gesture from Bertano to do that tonight? Is that what the...
I've seen some kind of quote from Chris Heck, I think, and it was something like... Obviously, we can't use Bertano in European fixtures away because of rules and stuff. So Bertano, I think this was the wording, kind of donated the front of the shirt back to Villa, and Villa donated it to Acorns, I think was the way it was framed. So we did it last year, didn't we, with BK8 and Acorns for the Conference League. So yeah, nice to see Villa doing something again. We talk a lot about, we want Villa to be better, we want Villa to be proper, and doing something like this is a nice touch that I like to see.
Yeah, from tiny acorns, mighty oaks grow, don't they? So tremendous.
Thanks for watching. See you soon.